Opponents of peat harvesting in this country argue that it would alter the ecological balance of our peat-rich wetlands, and that as a direct consequence of this, much of the country's water supply would be threatened with contamination.
All right, so can you tell me this in your own words?
Yeah, so the people who are against peat harvesting say that it would change the ecological balance of their wetlands, and this would also cause their water supply to be contaminated.
Excellent. All right, Jillian, can you go with the second sentence?
Yeah, but this cannot be true, for in Ireland, where peat has been harvested for centuries, the water supply is not contaminated.
All right, so what does that mean?
The author is saying this isn't true because it's shown that in Ireland, where peat is also grown for a very long time, the water has not been contaminated.
Excellent. And then Ahmed, can you do the last sentence? You have the easy one. I didn't mean to give you the easy one, but I did.
That's fine. We can safely proceed with the harvesting of peat.
Awesome. All right. So what is this is kind of tricky. What is our conclusion here? Tia, I'm going to give a hard one to you. What is our conclusion?
Is it the last sentence?
Yes. Why is it the last sentence? Did anybody think it was something else for a second?
At first, I thought it was that it can't be true, but then I kept reading, and it can't be true. It comes like it's attached to a premise.
Okay. Yes, it is. But what is
a subsidiary?
It's a subsidiary. Yeah. Why is but this cannot be true our subsidiary? Anna.
It supports the conclusion that we can safely proceed with the harvesting of peat.
Yes, and we could use the because test here, right? We can safely proceed with the harvesting of peat because this cannot be true. Are we all good there? Awesome. All right, so if we wanted to strengthen this argument, let's think about what flaw is here. So everyone go ahead and take 30 seconds and type into the chat what flaw you think or what this is taking for granted or not considering. Or if you have a flaw type, that's fine too. All right, and so then once you have that, I want you to go ahead and try to strengthen this idea that we can safely proceed with the harvesting of peat. And type your answer in the chat. All right, so Emily, first for you, can you share what flaw you predicted here?
So my flaw prediction was that it takes for granted that what occurs in Ireland will also occur in this country.
Yes, that was an awesome prediction. And then Tia, what was once you also had a similar prediction for your flaw? Does everybody see that flaw here? We're assuming that, okay, whatever happened in Ireland is going to automatically happen here. Has anybody else been to Ireland? I went for St. Patrick's Day one year. It was awesome. But they cannot grow very many vegetables. Just so you know, like getting a fresh salad over there is like not possible. They have like a lot of potatoes. And so there's a lot of differences between there, correct? And so Tia, what was your prediction for how to fix that flaw?
I put that everyone knows that Ireland and this country have the same ecosystem.
Yeah. I like that. I liked your prediction. You were really demonstrating that for like, hey, like whatever we're talking about here is the same as Ireland. So, but some other people actually had good they didn't pick up on that. And this is where I want to example is like, some people did not pick up on that flaw, but they still had good predictions and you still got this answer right. I think Ahmed, you had one. Okay. Yeah. Ahmed's prediction was the government has set certain measures in place to protect the water supply to ensure that we can safely proceed with the harvesting of peat. You still got this question correct. It wasn't what you predicted, but your prediction was still a solid prediction. So we're gonna go through the wrong answer choices first. So why is when as people submitted them, I gave out some people to answer these. So why is A wrong?
So I thought A was wrong just because it didn't seem like it. I guess like the ecological balance of all areas slowly changes slowly but significantly. Like I guess that could kind of support, but it's not like a strong support. And then I thought like when it said sometimes to the advantage of certain flora and fauna, that was like not very relevant to what the
Yeah.
stimulus was talking about.
And like just because it hasn't changed a lot over like the past hundreds of years, does that mean like it's not going to change in the future? Like maybe I don't really know what peat harvesting is, but maybe peat harvesting has just recently been introduced and now it's going to be a major problem. All right, so why is E wrong? Whoever had E?
I had E. I said it was wrong because it doesn't really fix the flaw that we were talking about, and also we're not really talking about the country's fuel for generations. Like that's extraneous information.
This is like saying that it's safe for us to use all of our natural resources because the natural resources we use have been able to supply most of our energy for generations. Like just because it's like been able to do it doesn't mean that it's safe for us to continue to do that, right? All right, what about D?
I said that D was wrong because it doesn't really do anything for the argument. If anything, it helps the opponents. Because in my mind, the way it works is like the larger the country is with all the resources to harvest peat, the bigger the problem is. It doesn't really help it.
Right. Yeah. And we don't have, yeah, it's very irrelevant. Excellent. All right. And then why is C wrong?
I kind of felt like C was like weakening rather than strengthening the question or the stimulus rather. And then I don't know if activities of other industries really is relevant to what we're
Yes, exactly. So this is where we have to come back and if we ever get down between two, come back and really realign yourself with truth, where we're saying that we can safely proceed with harvesting peat. I think that if someone picks C, it might be because you were really focusing on maybe our water supply not being contaminated. And you're thinking that maybe these other activities are going to contaminate our water supply, so therefore it's bad. But we're just trying to say that we can safely proceed with harvesting a peat. That's the only thing that we care about. So these other activities are irrelevant. For those of you that pick C, do you feel like you understand why it's wrong?
Well, I chose C, and it was between B and C. And the reason I didn't choose B because they said the original ecology. And so I thought we were talking about now. So that's why I went with C over B.
Okay, let's get to B in a second. Do you see why C is wrong? Okay, so do you see why, I think Sabrina, you also chose C. Do you see why C is wrong?
Yeah, I see why.
So just because other activities are bad for the water, does that mean that we can't safely harvest peat, Giovanna?
Okay. All right. No, that is so okay. Last but not least, I was taking that everything was true and I was reaching outside the box.
Yes, even though this were true, it still doesn't, like, think of something else. Like I can, like, just because like I'm trying to think of an example of something dangerous. We can safely rock climb because I have the proper equipment. Can I say, well, the other activities that you do camping are likely to be unsafe? Does the other activities that
have
I
anything to do with
have anything with my rock climbing not being safe?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
So that's a good way to think about it. Yep.
Okay.
And then so B is saying, I do get what you're saying about the original ecology, but at least it's saying that originally they were the same. So it kind of gives us a starting point. You're absolutely right that it's not rock. The fact that this is original is not rock solid, but it does get us closer to the rock. So yeah, I like how critical you were thinking.
But it's good though because we can bring out outside information though, right?
Yes.
So it's
absolutely. But I think what Giovanna was saying was that, like, this is saying that the original ecology were the same. How do we know if today they're like the ecology is the same? We don't. And so that's why, like, it's not completely valid, but at least it's helpful.